So yesterday, I tried to make a video. I did make a video, actually, ranting about the Portland Trail Blazers' first day in free agency, because they both cut Trendon Watford, which made absolutely no sense for a plethora of reasons. We're going to go over that. But also committed to signing Jerami Grant to a $160 million contract, which is even more than the experts were predicting he was going to even garner in the market at max. They thought it was going to be 150. I figured 140. So we're here to talk about everything regarding that today, and especially because Damian Lillard's finally decided to grow some fucking balls. He just skipped an ultimatum altogether and decided, I'm demanding a trade. So it turns out a lot of fans are pissed off at this, specifically at Dame for requesting a trade. Logistically, it actually made sense once I was tipped off to why they were upset about it, which is that, of course, it was Damian Lillard who was the one who ensured that Joe Cronin and the team were going to sign Jerami Grant to this massively inflated contract that he's not worth of $160 million. Which means he intentionally did that to get his friend Jerami Grant his bag before he officially was going to leave. Which means that also, likelihood is, Jerami knew he was going to request a trade. So he intentionally did that, which actually fucks over this team harder. That said, obviously it doesn't happen without Joe Cronin being delusional enough to think, yes, we can retool and contend and afford to build a roster like this around Damian Lillard and our young guns, because we're going three different directions at once, because I also think we can do that successfully. It's obviously equally his own fault and Jody's fault, because she's the owner and she's really involved, even though she's even self-admitted she knows nothing about sports at all. And it shows. Like I said yesterday when I was recording this, they are determined to one-up their every most incompetent move. Every time they make another intensively incompetent move, they instantly make another one. It's ridiculous. And as of yesterday, obviously very late in the day, Drew Eubanks committed to signing with the Phoenix Suns. Massively huge for the Suns. The Yuta Watanabe signing is massive, and it's for the same reasons it's huge for them to get a Drew Eubanks type guy. Whether or not they keep DeAndre Ayton doesn't matter, because he is elite as a backup center. He's especially elite as a rim protecting big man and a shot blocker. He actually literally had one of the best defensive ratings of all big men in the league last season throughout it. He is very underappreciated and undervalued and underrated across the league by every level of person. So it's huge for them, but it's equally as horrific for us. Especially considering, once again, this whole Jerami contract situation. I've been saying that for months now. The Jerami contract situation. It's a suicide pill. This went full-on suicide. It's not just, they didn't swallow a suicide pill. They swallowed a suicide pill and then swan dived into the Grand Canyon without any restraints or anything to stop them from splatting to the ground like a fucking puddle of jello. Like, that's what this contract is. Especially, it became even more so when Dame requested his trade. So now, inevitably, Dame's going to get traded. We are stuck with Jerami Grant now, who doesn't move the needle at all, with or without our current guys, obviously, to a massively inflated contract, mind you. And now we're going to be stuck with that contract when we trade out Dame. We're still probably not going to be, committing to a rebuild, a full-scale rebuild, let alone do it competently, because that's Joe Cronin and Jody Allen's MO. One thing that Blazers fans are failing to question, they aren't thinking this question, they're thinking, will I root for Dame when they reach the finals next season in Miami? So the question really should be, do any genuine Blazers fans really trust and believe that Joe Cronin and Jody Allen will ever even really be remotely competent, smart, and focused with regards to making a commitment to any specific direction? And if so, that they can find and do it right? Because that's the real and most important question there, that a lot of these Blazers fans are not thinking of or asking. They should be immediately thinking of that. Do I trust this team, this franchise, to suddenly become non-delusional, competent, and determined to pick a specific direction, say a rebuild, and then actually do it correctly? Because if I have to give my answer, it's a resounding fuck no. It's blatantly clear and obvious that ain't ever gonna happen. It sucks, but it's the honest truth. Because they've proven time and time again, even with Neil O'Shea on board for 7 straight years, it's just not something they're able to do. Joe Cronin immediately thereafter was asked, with the trade request of Damian Lillard, will this impact and affect the Jerami Grant contract offer? And his instant answer was, Oh no, it's not going to alter it at all. In other words, we're still signing for 160 million because reasons or something. I will admit he's still going to be tradable, but because of how inflated it is, I doubt we're going to be able to garner or get remotely as much as we can or we should if it was a smaller contract, say 120, 140 million instead. I am curious to see what his offers from other teams were. I'm sure he had some in the first day, although this was really early on in the day that he committed to re-signing the contract, probably because he knew that was the highest he was going to get. He's absolutely going to do that because this is the most money he's going to make in his entire career. What the heck are we doing with this contract now? If we're sending out Dame, what do we do with Jerami Grant? We lost key role player in Drew Eubanks. We got rid of one of our only big guy, genuine, true, big-bodied, big man prospects that was developing super quickly in Trendon, Watford. We didn't even Joe Cronin didn't even look to trade the guy. He just acted like he picked him up off of the side of fucking Burnside and Broadway in downtown Portland and said, go fuck yourself. You're not valuable. Who the fuck does that? He claimed it was because of the fact that it freed up necessary cap space to make a big move. When Trendon Watford had 2 years left on his contract, and that contract was at full length, 3 years, worth 18 million. So what? He has like $10.5 million on his contract left for 2 years? So you freed up $5.25 million, theoretically, for this offseason. What do you mean a big move? Again, it shows that they don't care and it's incompetency. You're not freeing up anything by doing that. In fact, you're actually shooting yourself in the dick because of the fact that, again, he was incredibly good when you gave him his opportunities and he really got into the zone. He was intensively, positively impactful and valuable, and he progressed like nobody I've seen before, I don't think. Because last season, he started the first half of the season and his very limited opportunities throughout the year. First half of the season, he started getting absolutely reamed and creamed defensively. But by the second half of the season, he was actually one of our best defensive players. And despite that being the case and having very limited games he played in, and of that, very limited minutes throughout the season, he somehow managed to lead the team in charges drawn. He was top 3 on the team. Because he was so slow in the first half of the season, he couldn't not foul and have issues where he got blown by. In the second half, he was keeping up with 3 different positions relatively easily and actually defending incredibly well. That's how quickly he developed, despite how tiny amounts throughout the year he actually got to prove himself. He improved that much that quickly defensively, which is one of the main areas he needed to prove in. He also had already improved throughout the entire season quite a bit from 3. He had one of the highest freaking shot percentages from both 3 and overall. He had incredible potential. He has work ethic I haven't seen for decades. And same with us, the mentality to match that. You can tell he's working with personal development trainers at home because they don't have defensive ones here in Portland. That's blatantly clear. He hired somebody of his own to help him do this. And it's really paying off. And you just cut him. You don't even decide to look for a trade. You just cut the guy as if he has no value. It's absurd. And this whole situation with Damian finally requesting trade, so he's gone, demanding to stand pat and stay firm on signing Jerami Grant to this $160 million contract. You still have Nurk in his massively overinflated contract that I don't think any team's going to be dumb enough to take on. And you still have Ant, who's really expensive and not worth his deal. I will die on that hill. He is not worth what anyone thinks he is. He is good. He will never be great. That's a fact. It'll always be a one-trick pony. It's just, all I really want is competency to return. Blow it up. Do not try to build around Ant, especially considering it makes even less sense because now we have Scoot and Shea. That's a point guard and a shooting guard, naturally. You don't need Ant. I have no idea about Scoot, but Shea is going to be infinitely better long term if we get the right staff on this fucking team and the right culture in. Ant's going to look fucking pathetic, and you're going to realize how much better Shea is going to become. I guarantee that. Trendon was going to be one of our best players by far if we just trust in the damn guy. It amplifies the stupidity of that cut of Trendon Watford even more because Dame's going to be gone. We're trading him. That means that this whole supposed reasoning behind it, cutting him, to free up this cap space, now no longer matters. It literally does not matter in the slightest. And because of the Jerami Grant contract. It not only does it amplify the Jerami Grant contract, and then the Jerami Grant contract alongside of the trading of Dame is going to amplify the stupidity of the move to cut Trendon. It just doesn't make any sense. Now we have one less big man and one less incredibly high potential player that was still really young on a dirt cheap contract who loved just simply playing and getting better. He was incredible on and off the court. Super fucking laid back, humble, great dude. You just had to fucking get rid of him when we could have fucking used the guy. And in fact, even if he didn't have much value in trades, that's even better. Even more reason to keep him for rebuild and build around him, because you'd be able to get away with keeping him because he doesn't really have much value in the market, because nobody fucking does anything but undervalue, underrate, and just act like he doesn't even exist for some reason, which doesn't make a damn bit of sense. And you can keep him to rebuild around too, and really show how much that backfired on that decision making. How fucked up it was that they did not give this man his flowers. How beneficial it would have been if they took him on and trusted in him. You can rebuild around him and Shea and Scoot, potentially, while getting a ton of value back for everybody else on this roster in terms of future assets. But no. You had to be a dumbass, and then Dame demands a trade, and you're even a bigger dumbass. In my video, I mentioned that I didn't think Dame would ever request a trade or give an ultimatum, because he's proven he just doesn't. He isn't that guy. He doesn't do that. But he said and claimed that, oh, well, we'll have to wait until after free agency. One day. This morning tells him, yeah, I want out. It was just to get his man his money and then bail. Such a toxic fucking thing to do. So predictable for Dame, but so toxic, because Dame proved he's a very toxic person and player, just like the fucking franchises, which is why I said in recent videos, they are perfect for each other. They bring out their most toxic traits. The franchise brings out Dame's most toxic traits and vice versa, and they amplify them. They are perfectly fit for each other just simply because of that. They're two equally toxic things, and they amplify their toxicity. That was a really fucking toxic move by Dame, but so petty, but so predictable. That's also because he knows that Joe Cronin is fucking stupid and delusional, and same with Jody Allen, so they were gonna guarantee that they're absolutely still paying Jerami Grant this $160 million for now literally no reason. Everything amplifies the other of how stupid, incompetent, fucking delusional and bullshit it all is. On one hand, it's a huge positive, and I'm actually thankful, genuinely thankful and happy. Okay, that Dame finally requested a trade, and that he's finally going to be the fuck out of here. So it's a slight step in the right direction. But again, like I said earlier, do I trust this team? Do I trust Joe Cronin and Jody Allen to be competent? Suddenly pick a direction, a rebuild, and actually do it correctly? No, of course not. Do I trust them to stop being so toxic? Fuck no. They don't give a fuck. Not going to happen. Jody still refuses to sell the team. The NBA, for some reason, is still refusing to force her to sell the team. Even though they clearly indicated last offseason, Adam Silver himself specifically, that they need to sell the team as soon as possible. He literally said need to sell the team as soon as possible and will be sold as soon as possible. Which clearly indicates him and the rest of the execs of the league and NBA want her to sell the team. They do not like where this team is. They do not like where the front office goes, because they obviously can see and know that this is not profitable and this is not viable, and it's hurting the team's fans. It's an insult directly to us. They're kicking us in the teeth and saying, now pay us for season tickets. It's just infuriating to be a Blazers fan. So yes, on one hand, it's a step in the right direction, but on the other hand, it's only that one little bit. And it's not going to go any further. We're not going to make any more progress. That's clearly inevitable. And I cannot emphasize it enough. We cannot allow this current front office, nor the current ownership, to be present on this team if we go into a full rebuild. Do we need to? 100 billion%. But it is the last and worst case scenario if they're still here. Jody Allen and group still owns the team. Joe Cronin and company are still running the front office. It is literally the worst case scenario to leave this team in their hands going into a true rebuild. It is a disaster waiting to happen. Mark my fucking words. I know they're unwilling to choose that direction, but God forbid if they do. We're absolutely fucked. One thing this does though, Dame requesting his trade, is it literally, and especially timing, could not be more impeccable and perfect for the Miami Heat. This Blazers team and the Miami Heat are literally reliant on each other when it comes down to the Dame trade. This is the best case scenario for the Heat because all you're left with is Kyle Lowry, and they're even talking about waiving the guy. But more specifically, they're losing Gabriel Vincent. I don't know why I just called him his full name of Gabriel. They're losing Gabriel. I did it again. They're losing, whatever. They're losing Gabriel Vincent to the Los Angeles Lakers. You wouldn't think so, but he is their frontline leading point guard, and throughout the playoffs he was. To lose him was a horrific, like worst case scenario thing for the Miami Heat because they still don't really have any cap space. And who the fuck is available that can fill his shoes? It ain't gonna be Kyle Lowry, despite the fact you still have him on there, and he's not a starter anymore. Off the bench, he's fine, even though even off the bench consistently, he keeps going out like twice a season on average now for a few weeks with injuries. At that point, it was a fucking panic alarms going off because holy shit, we're sinking. This is horrible. So this whole scenario with Dame requesting a trade now is literally saving the very life and future of the championship contention level Miami Heat. It saves the fucking Heat. I might be slightly melodramatic about that, but like the point is, it really does actually save them a lot of headache and logistical nightmares when it comes down to who the fuck's gonna run the offense now at point guard. This is pretty much just about guaranteed. They're probably gonna get Dame. I'd be stunned if they didn't get Dame. And of course, he wants to be there. And they're the only ones who really realistically can give us a fair amount of assets back. But again, like a lot of people are pointing out, all we're getting is more guards back. And I don't want fucking Tyler Hero. Hero. I don't want his stupid Gucci loving ass. I don't like his game. I don't. It's just such a stupid thing to take him on in his contract. I literally would rather take on Duncan Robinson. I don't want Duncan Robinson either. He's undrafted, but I believe he's 30 years old this year. You're taking on a 30-year-old undrafted guy who is so inconsistent. He literally barely played in the regular season at all last year. I think he played a literally single-digit amount of games and minimal trash minutes because he was so bad. He had gone so downhill. And then the playoffs, he finally started to skyrocket again. His contract's immense, dude. We're going to have 3 more years of like, what is it, like 60, 70, 80 million dollars on his ass? I don't want that, but I'm not going to lie, it's kind of better than Tyler Hero. Although, admittedly, if we could trade them immediately thereafter, that would be wonderful. But so he would have more trade value, I guess. But I don't want a Tyler Hero. I don't want a Duncan Robinson. And what else are you going to be able to give us? Pretty much nothing. Because the Cavs are ride or die on getting Max Strus. You could give us Caleb Martin. I'll take him all day. I have no issues whatsoever with taking on Caleb Martin. He is a fun-ass player to watch. I mean, again, who else are you going to give us? We're not going to take on, I don't think, Kyle Lowry. I mean, actually, it might work because if we go into a rebuild, okay, yeah, that could work. The problem is he's probably going to accept his player option anyway because I think this is his final year before he has a player option year, and you know he's going to fucking accept that because that's the last year he's going to make that kind of money because he knows he doesn't have that value anymore. Who are you getting? You're getting just a bunch of guards, and none of them are really good. This team's in an absolute suicide spiral. I really wish I could say otherwise. And apparently we must assign John Butler Jr. to a full contract because he's back on the Summer League team. Either that or we're just deciding to retain him for the Summer League, which I just call him the twig. He's the stick bug. It's like, why the fuck did we even have him on the team? And even in the big minutes he got, including as a starter for like the trash minutes of the year, including the terrible teams, he was terrible. He was horrible. He never improved in any category. He did basically nothing. It's like, what the fuck is the point of us continuing to even look at him as a prospect, even if he's not signed to any kind of a contract, even as a two-way player? We signed Ibu Baji to a full-scale contract last year. He never played for us once. It wasn't a two-way. It was a full contract. He never played for us once because he was out injured the entire time. What injury? I don't even know what he was out the entire time with, whatever that was. He's going to be on our Summer League roster. What the fuck? You know, like, looking at the other big men. And I don't think Yonko is going to be very good. So what do? where do you go from here? Because they're about your only choices. I guess you're going to do that. And yeah, if you're going to look to tank and try to keep getting higher and higher picks, I guess sure. I mean, the more stretch you could make is like, oh, maybe they're aiming for getting LeBron James Jr. this coming draft. Which, by the way, is another fucking guard, so that they can get LeBron James for a 1-year rental before he retires. Sure, but like, if that was the case, we'd have to trade all of our main guys. We would have to trade them. And again, if we keep Ant, that makes that even less viable and less sensible, because where do you put all of these guys? Where do you put Scoot? And where do you put Ant? And where do you put Shea? With Bronny James. It just, you're calling for so many guards. And especially if you trade Dame to the Heat, now you're getting only guards back. So you might get Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. They're both on long-term contracts that are expensive. So you still can't afford that, and you can't tank and do as badly as you're expecting. So what are you doing? Where do you go? How do you pull that off? You can't. It's so fucking stupid. Like, every direction you look, there's a conflict of interest at the guard positions. Somebody has to come off the bench. Hopefully it's Ant. Now, he's probably going to not be very happy either, because he believes what everyone else does. He's so much potential. He's so good. Why would he be coming off the bench? Especially to a bunch of rookies. Or a rookie and a sophomore. Like, what the fuck's that about, right? And if I'm really your future, the blah, blah, you know what I mean? There's, no matter what direction you're looking in, where do you go? What can you do? You can't. This team's determined to fuck themselves over. They're determined to do this suicide dive and scream at the top of their lungs how happy they are that they're doing the most to apparently help the team, as they would put it. But that's the reality of the situation. I swear, man, it's overwhelming, tiring, infuriating. You stupidly signed Jerami Grant. You stupidly cut Trendon. And now Dame's getting his ass traded. Yep, there you go. Heat prepared to offer Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and picks. I want to scream. I hate this team so much, man. Ugh. And I'm not even going to lie. My favorite young guy on the team, Shea is a wicked close second. But my favorite young guy on the team was Trendon, by far. I have a very strong bias to that dude as a player, and he deserves to be signed as quickly as possible by a team that actually believes in him and will actually give him proper opportunities and chances and know how good he already is and how great he can become and his ethic and everything. Like, he better fucking be signed by a team that gives a fuck about the guy and he plays. He is fun to watch too and develop. You can't ask for a better guy. He already has a veteran's mentality, actually, and attitude. He's just a fantastic dude. On and off the court, all around, he is. How the fuck do you not sign that guy? It's just wild to me. I want and I need to see that dude signed, because whoever he's signed with, I'm going to try to watch as many of their games as possible this coming season, because it's going to be literally just to watch and support him because of how big of a fan I am of him. You know, unofficial fan club, founder of, that's another one, is Trendon Watford. He was actually my favorite player on the team, admittedly. He literally became my favorite player on the entire squad. Over Dame, over Nurk, over Ant, over Shea. He quickly grew to become my favorite. My main man, Transom Waterford. Trendon. It still impacts me that he's gone, and that he's waived, and that he's not signed by anybody. It's just, it hurts. It's disgusting and insulting that they did that to him, but I digress. That's all I wanted to talk about. We'll see how much more they cause me to rant about. Every time you think they can't get more incompetent, more stupid, and more idiotic, and more delusional, of course, leave it to the Blazers to do it again. This is easily the most incompetent, stupid, delusional franchise by far in the fucking NBA. It's not even close anymore. You thought Orlando was bad, you're wrong. You thought the Sacramento Kings were bad, you're very wrong. You think the Pistons are bad. They are. But they're not remotely as delusional, stupid, or bad as this fucking franchise. Sell the fucking team, Jody. God. Give it to Uncle Phil. It's desperately needed.